The Electrifying team tend to focus on cars that are at the more modest end of the spectrum, cars that come with a degree of social responsibility. But there are times when none of that matters, because power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. Hit it, works.
That, my friend, is a full launch control start from the new Porsche Taycan Turbo S. It's 761 brake horsepower of pure electric four-wheel drive brilliance. 0 to 62, 2.8 seconds. It is very insistent.
It's like going on a roller coaster for the first time. It's that kind of really exciting feeling. But I guess the question is, look, is this just a one-trick Taycan pony?
Well, you better hold your 760 horses / ponies, whatever. Before we get to all that, don't forget to go to electrifying.com to find out about cars that aren't quite as fast as the Porsche. Basically cars that don't require a millionaire's bank account, neck brace and regular change of underwear.
Will you go fast again? Please! No, brake!
Oh gosh. I feel slightly weird.
We're such children. So let's get some basics sorted. The Taycan is Porsche's new fully electric sports saloon, and it comes in 3 flavours. The 500 brake horsepower 4S, the Grand Turbo with 630 brake horsepower, and this, the Porsche Taycan Turbo S. The top-of-the-line model that pumps out 761 brake horsepower and 774 pounds per foot of torque. That's relevant because it's a lot, even in a saloon that weighs just shy of 2.5 tonnes.
This particular model costs just over 151,000 of your finest English pounds, without options, which is also a lot. But for that, you get a 4/5 seat fully electric big car that eats supercars for breakfast, lunch and dinner, in a straight line at least. You also get precisely no turbos because it's an electric car. The name is just a trim line in Porsche speak.
Looks-wise, you can definitely see the Porsche heritage. See this rear window line? That's 911-ish. There's bits of Panamera stretched over entirely new bones. And although it looks completely new, if you took the badges off, I think you would still guess at a Porsche.
Agreed. Not exactly a shouty car, but it definitely looks new wave, like it gently jumped a couple of generations and the 2025 car came out early.
And that theme continues in here, although thankfully they've avoided the temptation to go too funky and futuristic. It's just a thing of beauty. It has that lovely tactile Porsche feeling. Nobody's going to get frightened sitting in here because you know instantly that you are in a Porsche. I love the screen, this screen that curves away in front of you. And it is just one of several screens. There's another one down here that lets you do things like check out the state of charge. Not to mention an extra landscape one there with lots of useful stuff on it.
And you know what? There's actually an optional one that sits right here in front of the passenger. And I actually don't see the point, seeing as the passenger is sat right next to you. But then again, maybe that's something to do with that neck brace being necessary.
No, it's nothing to do with that. Do you know what it's to do with?
What?
The Porsche configurator.
Oh yeah.
They do love their options list, don't they?
Yeah, they do.
Any excuse, add it on, add it on, add it on. It's easy to really bump up the price, isn't it?
But suffice to say, this is actually a really well-equipped car, and the list of standard stuff is probably a little bit too long to go into here. Underneath us is a 93.4 kilowatt hour battery,
Yes.
and that runs 800 volt architecture.
Go on.
Do you know what that means?
I can feel an explanation coming on.
There's some science here, so pay attention. So 800 volts is actually twice the power of a normal EV of this type. So you end up with higher voltage, which means lower current. Now, lower current means less heat in the motors, electronics and batteries, and that means that you can charge this car a lot quicker than a 400 volt car. It also means that you can package it differently because the wires themselves are a lot thinner. It's a very elegant solution.
Not to mention a very expensive one, but it does have some advantages. Let me get my sheet out. You ready for this?
Spec.
Okay, it can use the 270 kilowatt chargers popping up in Europe to charge. Mind you, there's only around 140 of them at the moment, but if you can find one, that's 10 to 80% in 22.5 minutes.
That's fast.
Yes, it is. There's a CCS Type 2 combo charger for that one. A home charging point using just the Type 2 part of the charger will take around 13 to 14 hours to charge, and a public 50 kilowatt charger, that's 93 minutes. It is a very big battery. Got all that?
Yes, I think I've got all that. Don't forget, if you find any of this a little bit confusing, go over to electrifying.com and you can look at our EV jargon busting dictionary, which really does help. And also, I have a fun fact of my own.
I do love your fun facts. Go on.
Basically, if you plug this thing into a 3-pin charger at home, like a normal plug, it'll take 43 hours to charge it. 43.
That's just bonkers. It's only 2 days. Why would you do that? I mean, I suppose if you're in a bind, it shows that there is an option there.
Still possible.
As long as you're not in a rush. As for more practical stuff, the battery is split to provide what Porsche calls a foot garage for rear seat passengers. Yes, it's a ridiculous name, but I actually quite like it. The extra space is very handy. It's a smart idea. As for the fifth seat in the middle though, let's just say if you opt for it, it's best used for emergencies or for very small people.
There's a frunk up front that can take a small backpack, all the charging cables, and the boot is actually very handy. At 366 litres, it's about the same size as a VW Golf.
Hang on a second. Are we really talking about boot capacity and golf clubs? This thing's got 760 horsepower. Forget it.
Yeah, sod that.
Do you know what I like most about this car, Wooks?
Yeah, go on.
It feels like a Porsche.
Well, duh.
No, bear with me. Look, I really do mean it. This is a completely new platform for them, and yet they've managed to make it feel like a proper sports car. Even if it is a little bit chubby with its 2.3 tonnes and all that.
Well, I can tell you what, how about the Model S Raven, you know, the Tesla? That does everything the Taycan does, but it's a lot cheaper.
Completely agree, that is an awesome car, but you see that's been designed to a wider brief. And the thing about the Taycan is it's been designed to do things like this.
Whoa, hello. Okay.
What you're looking at is triple chamber air spring suspension, PASM active dampers, and a pair of electric motors, one for each axle giving four-wheel drive doing their work. The Taycan rides remarkably well, but when you hit the bends, it's exceptional.
Not only that, but the Taycan gets a 2-speed gearbox for the rear axle that allows for repeatable, devastating launches.
And still some cruising efficiency, 241 to 256 miles of range for the Turbo S, and yes, it still gets 0 to 62 in under 3. But the point here is that so far, very sporty EVs have been a bit thin on the ground. Yes, most are better at accelerating than their petrol-powered equivalents, but real EVs, well, they're not as good at this, at driver involvement.
Ugh, you can say that again.
But most of these cars aren't as good at this, at driver involvement.
Idiots. Oh, but back to the car. It's just so precise. It's such a joy.
Yeah.
I mean, the steering. Oh, you just turn it in. It feels so planted, so precise. And also it gives you stacks of confidence, because the one thing you know is that when you've got your foot down, you're really giving it some, powering it into a corner like this. If you do, what are you holding on to things for? It's fine. I'm in control.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
So as I was back to powering into the corner like this, if you know that coming out the other end, you got to do a stop. Whoa! Those are the carbon fibre brakes, baby.
Okay.
Oof!
That's great.
But isn't that brilliant? They also look immense with those massive yellow brake calipers.
Okay.
What?
No, it's fine.
You're a rubbish passenger.
I'm happy. I'm really happy.
One thing though, I don't know if you've noticed when you're driving, if you're going to overtake, you really need to watch out.
Yeah.
You need to make sure you've cleared the car ahead before you hit the throttle.
Yeah, because otherwise you end up in the boot of the car in front.
Not good. Definitely not good. So can I ask you something?
Yeah, go ahead.
Do you miss the sound of, like an actual turbo?
What, an engine noise?
An engine noise.
Well, it's not silent anyway, is it? It does make noises. They're just different noises to what an engine would.
Yeah, but can I tell you the noise I like most of all?
My screaming.
You're screaming when I slam the brakes on.
Yeah.
You ready?
Yeah, I wouldn't do it on a corner.
Are you ready? I'm not going to do it.
You're going to do it on a corner,
I'm
aren't
not going to do it.
You're going to do it on a corner, and we're going to spin off into the trees.
I'm going to do your
and then it'll
countdown.
catch fire, and then we'll both
3,
die.
2.
I've got kids! Take me back now, Ginny.
Okay.
Take me back. Oh, I know what you're going to do. I know what you're going to do. Oh! I knew you were going to do that. I totally knew you were going to do that. And even though I was ready for it, I was ready for that. She still did it.
He's such a bad passenger.
I'm a terrible passenger. I actually do need to get out. It's because it's hot in here. Is it hot? So, Ginny, what have we learned?
That it helps if I'm sitting on a wall when I stand next to you so I don't look tiny.
True.
Okay. We've learned that we love launches in the Taycan, and that you, Mr. Ford, are a really bad passenger.
Yes, we have learned all of those things. Do you know what else we've learned?
What?
That is a proper EV sports car. And that surprised me because it's far more than being just one-dimensional. And one other thing.
Go on.
If I was in the market for a BMW M5 or an Audi RS6 or one of the big Merc AMGs, I would actually be sorely tempted by a Taycan Turbo S.
Oh, that's a big statement.
It is.
Rather than RS6, I love that car. It's so good.
Maybe.
But you know what? I think you're right, because this is something special. In fact, I think you're so right. I'm going to go for another blast before it goes away. You coming?
No,
Why?
because it makes me feel ill.
It's such a spoil sport.
Stinker.
If the thought of the Porsche Taycan makes you swoon, but you're after some more affordable electric fun, then check out our video of the Mini Electric. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you get a notification when our latest videos have landed.